Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello from the area around Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Today I would like to introduce you the new Insta360 One X3. It's not going to be a review, it's going to be a tutorial about this camera, how it's working, how you can use it. I give you some examples. So if you would like to support my channel, buy the camera from the links in the video description below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Let's get started. Here's the camera from all sides. As you can see, I removed this door to have access to the USB-C port to charge this camera. Using a power bank, you can use even your car adapter or your phone adapter. On the lower side, you get a tripod mount or a mount to attach the invisible selfie stick. Here at the side, you get the on and the off button, a quick button to enter the quick menu. I'll show you that later on. Here are some microphones, these holes. And if you would like to remove the battery, nothing easier than that. Use two fingers, take the battery out, and here is the memory card. Just push it. And that's from SanDisk. It's a memory card with a fast write and read speed. Link provided in the video description below. If you use a slower card, it's really hard for the camera to record 8K time lapses or 5.7K videos. So make sure you get a fast one. To put in the battery once again, do it like this and push it really hard. Just make sure there's no orange color left once it's attached to the camera, otherwise it's not properly secured. The first thing you need to do is insert the battery into the camera as shown before, and then push the upper button here at the side for about 2 seconds. Then you enter into a menu where you have to select your language. In this case I'm going to use English, and there's plenty of more languages to choose. Say confirm, and here's already your camera. It might be that you get a pop-up which says, would you like to connect this camera to your phone? In this case you say yes. Make sure you get the Insta360 app, which is for free, and it's available for Android and iOS. I know my phone is reflecting here a little bit. I try to prevent this as much as possible, but I can still see some reflections here. That is the Insta360 app I was talking about. Make sure to tap on that one. And there is no camera connected for the time being. So anytime you have a new camera, make sure you hit that plus down here, and it may ask you straight away, would you like to update the firmware? In this case, you say yes to get all the new features like new frame rates, new resolutions, whatsoever. It can be quite useful. Down here we have all the settings regarding this app and the camera. You have the current firmware version once you have connected the camera. If you don't like to see the logo of Insta360 on your exported files, make sure you deselect it right here. So you can, once the camera is connected, you can, for instance, format the SD card. So this camera was already connected to my phone. So make sure you tap on this symbol here or down here at the plus. You might need to confirm that on your camera display while the camera asks you, would you like to connect to this phone, while you say yes. So here I'm in live view. I set it up the camera just behind me. As you can see, I'm sitting here and both hands are here, so this camera is fully now controlled using my phone. Let's start on the on the upper left side. Here's the battery percentage. In the current resolution we can record for 2 hours and 13 minutes. If you would like to record in a log profile to do color grading at the end, you need to select log. Here is vivid and here is standard. I'm in a pretty vivid location, that's why I selected vivid. Up here, if I would like to change the resolution or the frame rate, I simply push on that button. So you can select 5.7K with 30, 25 or 24 frames per second. And if I tap on 4K, it's going to be 30 and up to 60 frames per second. Let's stick to the highest resolution. I'm going to change now to 25 frames per second. On these 3 dots up here, you can show a histogram or GPS. I can move inside the video while I'm recording, and if you use Wi-Fi it's going to work for roughly 30 feet. If I would like to control all the settings manually, I simply push on the auto mode, then I go into manual. From here you can select a different shutter speed, ISO or white balance. If you would like to record now a video, simply push at this button right here. And I'm now recording in this environment here. I can move inside the video, as you can see, 360 degrees. Well, the camera is ignoring the invisible selfie stick, but not my tripod, which you can see down here. I can tap on this flag. Now it's marked, so anytime I have something which I would not like to search forever, I can simply mark it while I'm recording. Push at the stop button again, and then it's saving the video. If I would like to playback the video, so that was the video we just recorded together. As you can see, it's pretty cool that you can move afterwards. And right here you can trim it, you can select a different format. So that is the Instagram format if you would like to use that. Now it's tracking. Anytime it sees, the software sees someone, it starts to track it, which is really nice. You can stop that, for instance. Clarity Plus, which is also quite nice. Let me just choose 19 to 16. So that's the classical Instagram or TikTok format. I can do a snap from exactly this frame here, which is super nice. If you tap on auto, the app will analyze this video and try to enhance the quality. Press on edit again. Down here you have color plus, which looks pretty amazing here at this location. Was pretty good idea to go into the forest. MultiView is pretty nice because from here I can say that I would like to see both sides, so the front and the back, which is super nice. For instance, if you do live recording, all the people will see you in this lens here and what's on the other side on the other lens. I can do a snapshot, filter face, so if you film yourself and you would like to have a filter on your face, you can use that down here. You can add some music, you can speed up the video, filter, awesome filters and tons of them, and you can do all the adjustments right here: color, temperature, contrast, saturation, and many more things. That's one of the best apps I've ever seen for an action camera. You can reset edits, or you can delete this video, or you can download it as well. Then it's a little note up here that it's saved to your gallery. If you would like to export that to YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, you can do it right here. You can select a different bitrate. In this case, I'm going to use the highest one for better quality. Here's the frame rate and of course the resolution, 1080p, since I have selected 9 to 16 as my format. If you tap on the bars down here, you have all the settings next to each other: Starlapse, burst, interval, HDR, photo, video, time-lapse, active HDR, BulletTime, TimeShift, loop recording. You can go live, which is super amazing. Let me go into photo mode, which you can do right here as well. So HDR stands for high dynamic range. If you have a lot of lights, I can recommend to take an HDR picture. Let's do it. Capturing takes a small moment until the camera has fully merged all the pictures together, since it's recording a 360-degree picture. And by the way, if you tap on the lower left side, you can play back this photo, and that's an HDR picture. Right now, HDR applied, and as you can see, you have kind of the same contrast. You can animate a picture as well, which is super nice. So let me use this filter here very quick. Takes a small moment, and then it's going to show you how it's animate a picture. So it's a still picture, but you can animate it straight into the app. It's pretty amazing if you're on a different location, like a beach or the Grand Canyon, for instance. If I use the normal photo mode, right here you can select if you would like to take a JPEG plus RAW, or you can take also a pure shot. So if you do any post editing and you want to have the maximum available quality, make sure to record in JPEG plus RAW. Unfortunately, there's not only RAW. And right here you can select either if you would like to take that picture with 72 megapixels, which is equal to 12K, or 18 megapixels, which is equal to 6K. Let me take a picture in 72 megapixels. It says capturing. Takes a small moment until the camera has merged all the pictures together, which is totally understandable since it's 72 megapixels. As you can see, the wheel is still spinning down here. And now we have merged together pictures, and that's a 72 megapixel image with a lot of details. You can animate it as well. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and I can export it either as a 360-degree photo or as a reframed photo, which I will do now. Takes a small moment. And it's saved now to your gallery, and you can share it now once you're connected to your mobile data or to an external Wi-Fi with your friends using Telegram, WhatsApp, Facebook or YouTube. Here's a video which I also exported, which I can share here as well with my friends. Here's the main screen of the Insta360. To turn on and off the camera, use this button here at the side and push it for about 2 seconds. That's the normal way to turn it off. I'm going to turn it on once again. There you go. And that's the main screen of the Insta360 One X3. On the upper right side, you see the indication of the battery. On the lower left side, you can switch between lenses. It's pretty dark here at the moment already. To change the resolution, simply press on the middle button down there, and yeah, I can switch between 5.7K, 4K, and then the frame rate will change automatically. While recording in 5.7K, I can select 30, 25 or 24 frames per second. To get out of this menu, you always see a little bar which can be displayed on the edges, and then you simply swipe it to the other side. On the upper left side, there is a micro SD card inserted into that camera. If there's no SD card in the camera, that's symbolized by a red micro SD card. With the current settings, I can record for 2 hours and 10 minutes. If I change, for instance, the resolution, you see that is changing as well. In 4K, using 30 frames per second, I would be able to record for 5 hours and 14 minutes. Let's go back to 5.7K, 25 frames per second. And let's start with the main camera menu. Swipe from the top to the bottom, and there you are inside the big camera menu. Don't be afraid of trying out some things. For instance, if I push this button right here, the LED is going on. In my case, I used to keep it on. However, if you're going to shoot, for instance, a time lapse of your garden and you don't want to have the camera visible to all your neighbors, I would probably switch it off. Here's the change of the volume. So here I'm now using medium. You can select low, high or mute the audio as well. If you don't have any audio and you still need a feedback if the camera is doing something, for instance, if it's now recording a video or if you just done a photo, I simply would enable the vibration. I would keep it on in this case. This here is QuikCapture. QuikCapture is important if you don't want to turn on and off the camera at all times and go into the photo or the live or into the photo or the video mode. And now you're walking through a city and then you see something that might be important for you. Simply push that button down here for 2 seconds. The camera will turn on. It starts to record automatically. Without going into photo mode, without going into video mode, it's doing straight video. To stop it, push that again. The camera is saving the video onto the micro SD card, and then it's turning off itself to save some battery. Let me turn it on once again. let's go back into the menu. I would tell you, make sure you try out all the other things. For instance, that's the brightness control. So you're not making any mistakes by using all these other fancy buttons right here. For instance, that's recording during wind. That's if you would like to connect your Apple AirPods while using their microphone instead of the camera's internal microphone. Here's the brightness control. Here's a Bluetooth remote. Just push one of these buttons to figure out what they do. Here's the camera menu, so that's the firmware version. USB mode, quite important. For instance, if I would like to enable the quick reader, you can do so. If you're connected to an Android phone, simply use that mode. Or if you are connected with that camera to your computer, use USB disk mode. Wi-Fi settings, so you can change the password. Standard is, I think that's 8 times 8. Or you can also say Wi-Fi should be always on. Then one important point I would definitely enable is Bluetooth wake up. So anytime you have your camera placed onto your roof to record a time lapse of the cool sky, but you don't want to go onto your roof at all times, just enable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on your phone. And if you're in the area of the camera, let's say 20 or 30 feet away, you can wake up your camera with the Insta360 app on your phone. Really important. Voice control. Let's say you're doing skiing and you have gloves on and you don't want to push all these buttons because you're holding the camera on your invisible selfie stick and you don't want to put out your phone since you don't want to break it while skiing, you can use voice control. Unfortunately, there are only 2 languages available. English is one of them, and here are the voice commands that you can use. For instance, take a photo, start recording, stop recording, and so on and so on. In this case, I'm going to disable it. Anti-flicker. If you're in Europe, use 50 Hertz. If you're in America, use 60 Hertz. Or keep it in auto if you don't know what Japan is using or what China is using or Thailand, whatever, leave it in auto. That's important if you're going into an area with artificial light. Sometimes the video, if you can see it's flickering, then the camera has the wrong Hertz setting. Video bitrate, the higher the bitrate, the more information will be stored on the video, so it's better for post editing. Video sharpness is set to high. There's also highest, medium or low. High works fine for me. External microphone settings, really important. For instance, if you're using the Rode Wireless Go and you want to have the perfect audio level, I would also always keep it between -6 or -12 decibels. Depends on the microphone, but it's nice that you can change it now. Here's the Rode Wireless Go, unfortunately without the wind protection. However, I think the audio quality seems to be much better than before. I've selected -6 decibels here on this Rode Wireless Go. One cool thing about this camera is that you can connect your Apple EarPods to this camera. So using basically the microphone of these headphones. So once you speak into it, you should get a better audio than using the internal one, especially when it's windy or if you're trying to vlog yourself, you go through a city and you don't want to have that big external microphone connected to the camera. I think that's a much better solution for it. Hopefully the audio will be good. This time it's also a bit windy, not on my bike, and if you want to vlog yourself and you're walking close to a coast or anything where it's a bit windy, that's how the audio sounds like from the internal microphone. Auto sleep is set to 3 minutes, which is fine for me, and it's also enabled during a recording to save some battery since the screen will turn off. Auto power off is selected here to 5 minutes. So anytime I have my camera on, I don't want it to turn it off within 5 minutes. If I haven't used it for 5 minutes, it's automatically turning off itself. Here you can select a different language. If you have accidentally chosen the wrong one, SD card, if you tap on that, I have a 128 GB SD card inserted into this camera. of which I can use 119 gigabytes and 3 gigabytes already used. If you want to format the SD card, simply push on Format. Customized button, so this one here, you can either use it to switch to a single lens or 360-degree mode, or to change from the photo to the video mode. If you have the impression that your camera is doing weird things, so it's misusing up and down, simply place it on top of a straight surface, don't move it, and then start a recalibration of the internal gyro. Factory settings, if you would like to sell this camera to someone else and you want to get it back to the factory settings, simply use that function here. To get out of this menu, simply use this bar down here and swipe it to the top. Let's try out some different modes. Here's the video mode, here's the picture mode, or sort of photo mode. If I tap on this one here, I have two options. I can either change the lens, so I'm viewing now myself. I can select a different megapixels, so 72 megapixels is the highest resolution, that's 12K, there's 18 megapixels. And if you would be on the picture as well while you take a big group picture, you can select also a timer, place the camera on a tripod, take a picture, go away, and then the camera takes a picture by itself. Then it's saving the picture onto the memory card. HDR means high dynamic range, so anytime there's a lot of shadows, a lot of light, make sure to select HDR photo. It's getting dark quite quick, so I did have to push the ISO here on my camera a little bit. So if I would like to take a picture with 72 megapixels, nothing easier than that. I have selected a timer of 3 seconds. Then I go back into this menu, and now the camera is taking an interval picture with 72 megapixels each 3 seconds. Later on, you can merge these interval pictures together to a video, for instance, or you can animate it using a GIF app or something like this. Make sure you have an SD card with a fast write and reading speed, otherwise you have a problem to save a 72 megapixel image. To stop that thing, push this button here on the lower side. That's a burst function. Anytime you do something with sport and you would like to take multiple pictures at once, here's the sub menu. You can select a timer to run away from the camera and do whatever you wish to do. The maximum timer would be 15 seconds. In this case, I'm going to try out 3 seconds, but you can't change the resolution, so it's fixed to 18 megapixels. Push the button on the lower side. And now the camera is taking a burst. I think it's 13 pictures at once. Starlapse, pretty amazing feature. As you can see, the display is completely bright since the camera is using a really long exposure time. Make sure you're not doing it in a city. So anytime you are, for instance, in the Grand Canyon and you would like to take an awesome time lapse of the sky during the night, use Starlapse. So the camera will take multiple pictures with a resolution of 18 megapixels, and later on you can playback them in your app, which is a night time lapse. Loop recording, pretty important. You can select either 4K, 5.7K, and then the resolution will change as well. So in 4K you can select 30 or 60 frames per second, 5.7K, 30, 25 or 24 frames per second. And here is a duration. So you can select up to 30 minutes or 1 minute, or let's say 3 minutes. Close that. And that's really important if you do, for instance, a sport video. And let's say you have trouble making one exercise and you want to make it correct, but it only worked after 3 minutes and you don't want to have a tape which is 2 hours long. Then you can limit the length of the tape, for instance, to 3 minutes. So the camera will never record longer than 3 minutes, and once you pass that 3 minutes, it's rewriting the first seconds once again. So you never have a longer tape than 3 minutes, and that's basically an endless tape. If you use that button down here, that's MultiView, so I see myself and I see what's in the background. So anytime you're walking through a city and you want to show your audience something which is in front of the camera while talking at the same time, you can use MultiView. BulletTime is a slow motion feature that this camera has. In 4K you can record with up to 120 frames per second, or in 3K with 180 frames per second. Let me push the ISO here a little bit further, otherwise you're not gonna see anything. TimeShift is one of my favorite features that this camera has. It's basically a video which is playbacked faster. So anytime you're walking through a city or you're doing something on your bike and you don't want to have the full video, let's say you're walking through a city for 1 hour, but you don't want to playback that video for 1 hour and you want to have it a little bit faster, then use TimeShift. Really awesome feature. Anytime you do something with movement, use TimeShift. There is this TimeLapse feature where you can record either in 8K with 30, 25 or 24 frames per second, or 5.7K. Here you can select an interval. The minimum would be 0.2 seconds and the maximum 2 minutes. What's the difference between a time-lapse and a time-shift? Time-shift is basically a video which is just being playbacked faster, while a time-lapse you can select an interval. For instance, if you're building a house, make sure to use a long interval, because the house is not being built within 1 hour. It probably takes multiple days, weeks or years. Then take a long interval. Anytime you do something which happens quite quick, for instance, if you are doing something in your garden or you're cooking something, choose a faster interval. While in a time shift video, the entire video is played, while on a time lapse video, you can only see what happened after, for instance, 0.5 seconds or after 1 second. HDR video, you require a lot of light for that, because if it's too dark, there's not enough ambient light available to take an HDR video. High dynamic range, that's important if you have a lot of shadows and lights at the same time and you want to have kind of the same contrast or equal contrast. And that was basically the camera menu.
Hello everyone, that's the Insta360 Studio app. Make sure to get this after you purchased one of their cameras. Make sure you have the serial number, otherwise you can't download this software, which is, by the way, for free, which is really nice. So here's a video file recorded in 5.7K with 25 frames per second. As you can see, the resolution is super nice. You can see all the details here in the background. I can play back. I have here a chest mounting to have my hands free.
And these ones are just green. Yellow and with...
If you would like to see a different part of the video, you can select a 9 to 16 file, which is nice to upload this, for instance, to your Instagram story or to your TikTok account, or maybe YouTube Shorts 1:1. That's the typical Instagram format. 16:9. You can change the field of view as you wish. If you would like to export this file now, nothing easier than that. Just hit that button down here, either in a plain video or in a 360-degree file. That's an HDR file, which I took in Heidelberg as well. As you can see, the resolution is super nice on this one here. With all the details, you can see my gray hairs. If I don't want to have the tiny planet on here, which is indicated by this symbol, I can also choose a big panorama. If I would like to export this file, nothing easier than that. Just hit that button down here. You can select also your own logo right here, which says eigenes. That means your own logo. If there's any case around your Insta360, make sure you select these ones to get like a better result. And here the information regarding this picture, the resolution, the ISO, the shutter speed and the aperture. And that's a picture I took during the night. As you can see, the ISO is at 2515 of a second, shutter speed f1.9, the date and the time. As you can see, if I zoom in, there is some noise because it was dark, we were moving, and as you can see, for a 360-degree camera, it's still a nice picture, and if I zoom out, the ISO almost disappears.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was my big tutorial about this camera. If you still have any open questions, make sure to leave a comment below. If that video was helpful to you, make sure to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, make sure to subscribe. And if you would like to support my channel even further, make sure to get this camera using the link provided in the video description below. Okay, und bis dann. Tschüss.